Hello everyone, welcome to Lambathon with Ardross Farm Shop. I think we're a few minutes early, so we will just wait and let everyone join us. Hello Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. It's a lovely peaceful morning, or afternoon now. You can hear the birds singing.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, from Leven. Hello Aileen. So we're just going to spend the next couple of minutes waiting for more people to join us. There's wonderful bird song in the background and the sheep are just grazing peacefully, so hopefully you'll enjoy some peace and quiet for a couple of minutes. If you could let us know that you can hear us, that would be great. Hello from Alvey Estate. Hi James. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh wow, Ireland. Hi Martin. And David from the Scottish Borders. Hello.
We've still got a couple of minutes. It's Nikki and Claire here from Ardross Farm in what was the very sunny East Neuk of Fife, but it's just started raining. Hopefully it'll stay off until we're finished. And we look forward to showing you what we do here on the farm. Thank you for letting us know the sound's good, Fiona.
Oh wow, the USA.
Hi Liz, thank you for joining us. Oh, there's Mum. Hello Mum, Fiona from Ardross.
She's on babysitting duties with Nikki's kids while we do this. Torrential rain here in Leven. Well, we've just got spots just now, so hopefully it's not coming this way. Okay, so it's just about 1 o'clock, so we will just wait another minute or so and then we'll get started. We have some donkeys nearby the field, so they were making all sorts of noises earlier, but they seem to have all stopped. So if you hear any funny noises, it's probably the donkeys.
What were the donkeys called again, Claire?
One was called Donkey and the other one's called Flatley.
So these are the sheep's next door neighbours.
Right, I think that's just about 1 o'clock, so we will get ready to go. So we'll maybe just have a wander around. Well, I'll first of all try and swap this camera around. Here we go. So I am Claire and this is my sister Nikki.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We're really looking forward to showing you around. We are the last in this amazing series of Lambathon, so we've got a lot to live up to, but hopefully you'll enjoy seeing around.
So it's a family business. We obviously are sisters. There is another sister in between us. Nikki's the oldest and I'm the youngest, and we have another.
That's a bit rude, Claire.
We have another sister in between called Tara, who also helps us out so much on the farm and in the shop. Our mum is also very much involved in the business. So to tell you a little bit more about our business, we do have the farm, which we will tell you all about with the sheep and the cattle. We've also got a farm shop which sells all our beef and our lamb and all our vegetables, but our mum also has a commercial kitchen where she produces all sorts of steak pies, mince rounds, scones, I don't know what else, soups, stocks, chutneys, all sorts of things for the farm shop. So it very much is a family business.
Yep. So today we wanted to show you around the sheep, but also tell you more about that business. We're coming from, I was just going to see if we could see the sea behind us. We're coming from the East Neuk of Fife. The sea, the Firth of Forth, is just about here. We farm, Ardross farm is right on the beach. Our fields run right along golden sand, and we're very lucky to farm in such an amazing place. If you ever get a chance to come and visit the East Neuk of Fife, we are 1 hour north of Edinburgh and about an hour south of Dundee. And you don't pass through the East Neuk of Fife, you actually have to come here. So we're a little bit of a hidden gem. There's tiny little fishing villages that go right the way along the coast. There's still lots of, oh, hello from Ardross, hi. Still lots of fishing boats going out, beautiful little harbours. And the East Neuk really has everything that you need. As farmers, it's a fantastic climate, although we are moaning a little bit about the rain just now. But if you're a foodie, we've got pubs, we've got restaurants, we've got farmers markets, we have an amazing farm shop, Ardross Farm, and wonderful places to stay and castles and things to visit. So it really is a pretty amazing part of the world. So this is where we are today. So thank you so much for joining us.
So yeah, just to tell you a little bit more, we have been farming in the East Neuk for generations. Unfortunately, we lost our dad just over a year ago. So with him went a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. But we were really, really glad actually that Dad had started us on a route to regenerative agriculture before he passed away. And on that route, everyone in farming is learning. So it's a fantastic time for me to start and me to move with it. We're also incredibly lucky. We work alongside a family called the Robertsons. We have the granddad, the dad and the son all working alongside us, and they're just absolutely brilliant. We could not ask for a better team of people. Their knowledge on livestock and crops and just the whole farm is absolutely phenomenal. So we couldn't do any of this without us. So it really is a massive team effort.
And you might be wondering, because it's not overly common, although having said that, most of the farmers during the Lambathon, there's been a lot of women there, but you might be wondering how Claire got into farming. So you can maybe tell them a little bit about that.
So like I said, my dad and mum farmed, and I always said all the way through high school that there was no way I was going to go into farming, that I was going to get a good job. That didn't mean I was working so hard, and it meant I could earn lots of money. So I went away and studied accountancy and finance at uni, and went to work in an accountant, and after not terribly long, oh gosh, that rain's getting heavier. After not terribly long, I decided that it just wasn't for me, that there had to be more to life than sitting in an office. So I came home and asked Mum and Dad if I could come home to farm. Dad did tell me all sorts of things, like I would...
It's really heavy rain now, everybody's sorry. We thought it was going to be sunny. We're going to get quite wet.
Oh, just hopefully the lens doesn't get blurred and you can still see us through all this rain splattering. But yeah, so about 7 years ago I came home to farm and getting onto the sheep. About 5 years ago I dragged my dad and Scott down to Wales because I'd researched a breed called Easy Care sheep, and I'd found a man in Wales that wanted to sell me some. So I dragged them down at 5 a.m. We drove all the way down to Wales and I bought 100 Easy Care sheep. I've since then upped my numbers slightly, so we've got about 130 breeding ewes on the farm.
Hi Lorraine. Lorraine used to work with us on the farm. Hello.
And she says it's sunny. I'm very jealous. The rain is very heavy here.
We're going to get quite wet.
Anyway, I will turn you around and let you see the sheep.
We could maybe go and stand underneath a tree actually, we wonder.
So this is our twin field. So we've got 4 fields. So I should say we farm about 1,300 acres altogether. So we've got about 300 acres on a tenancy, 1,000 acres on a contract farming agreement, and we also take some grasslets out and about. Now this is one of our grasslets. So this ground we've actually just taken on this year, and as you can see the grass doesn't look particularly great at all. Now the lady that we rent this from is a nutritionalist, and she is passionate about everything to do with food. She researches everything to a million degrees, and she's a really big advocate of our farm shop and a really, really good family friend. So some of this ground had never been grazed before, other bits had been extensively grazed by horses, and wasn't very looked after. So Jane came to us knowing that we are really passionate about regenerative agriculture and asked us if there was anything that we could do for this land.
Claire, I was just thinking, maybe people don't know what regenerative agriculture is. We didn't really know that we were doing regenerative agriculture, did we?
No, it was Dad just started to look at the things we were doing and wondered, these sheep have definitely got the right idea, by the way, hiding underneath the tree. They're definitely sensible. So Dad started on the journey by just looking at everything we were doing on the farm and working out if there was a more sustainable or better way for us to do things. He used to say that he wasn't a crop farmer or a livestock farmer. What he was a soil farmer, because without the soil he couldn't do anything. So there we go, there's some lambs. So we just started lambing on about the 14th of April. So these lambs are not terribly old, but they're all looking really, really well. Although now a little bit wet. So these sheep are maybe slightly different from any of the other ones you've seen. I don't know if there is any other breed easy care farmers that have been on this. But basically they lose their own wool. So you'll see these ones look quite tidy. They don't always look like this. They can look very, very scruffy, because what happens is the wool starts to moult and it can come out in clumps. As the weather gets warmer, the sheep decide they don't need their wool and the wool will come out in clumps. I don't know if you can see the white dots all over there. It's not rain or snow, it is wool. So that is... oh, Nikki's on a mission to find some wool.
It's a bit lucky we can find a better piece.
Here we go. So yeah, so it's not wool in a traditional sense. I don't obviously sell wool, so I don't know the exact price of it, but when we first got sheep, the price of wool was less than what it cost to shear sheep. It was at that point that we thought it's another intervention that we don't need with our sheep. We try and keep things as natural as possible, and basically that means us intervening as least we can. So these all lamb outside. They've all been out here all year round, and they've all lambed out here. We don't bring them in for shearing because they don't need to, and yeah, we just let them get on with it basically. They're very good mums. You can see the lambs running after their mum there, and these ones are all piling up trying to get shelter underneath this tree.
Can you see the donkey? The donkey's come to say
Oh yeah,
hello.
the donkey's come to say hello. If we move closer you might be able to see the donkey.
Claire, I also interrupted you talking about Jane.
Oh, so Jane is fantastic, and her knowledge and interest in regenerative agriculture and food and nutrition and how food can really, really help a whole host of things. And she's had this land in her family. There's the two donkeys. So this is the next door neighbour of the sheep. Very good friends to the sheep now. But there we go. So yeah, so Jane came to us and said, I've got this land, it's not being used anymore, but I'm really, really interested in making it better. I want to give something to my children that is better than what I've got just now. I want to focus on soil health and just make it better. So what we did was we came and looked at this ground, and to be honest, if you see this big pile here, doesn't look good. This was the kind of outsides that we needed to cut down just to get a fence up. Was the first step of doing anything, was just to get a fence up. So we did that, and secondly we just decided to put the sheep on it. Sheep are absolutely fantastic. My dad used to call them the golden hoof, and what they can do for ground is utterly amazing. But they really just ate this all down, all the overgrown grass they ate down. And it means that next year we can start afresh. We can start stitching in clover, and Nikki's going to get this gate for me. Fantastic. I wish she came with me every day to the sheep. So this bit we're just going into is the maternity ward, as we like to call it. So this is the ewes in here that haven't lambed yet. Sorry, someone's saying they missed what kind of breed of sheep they are. They're called easy care sheep, which is not a fantastic name, but that is what this says on the tin. They are very, very easy to care for. They pretty much look after themselves out in the field all day. So again, grass in here doesn't look fantastic, but this is the first stage of us kind of regenerating it, and hopefully next year if we do Lambathon again, you will see it and it will look a lot better. So Nikki is the manager of our farm shop. So I do the kind of farm side of things, look after the cattle and the sheep and all the arable ground, and Nikki manages the farm shop. So she can maybe tell you a little bit more about what's going on in the farm. Okay. So as you can tell, we're very wet.
Yeah, the rain's gone off a little bit. There is blue sky, but we'll continue anyway. I also, similar to Claire, decided that I didn't really want to be in agriculture. Although agriculture is a wonderful way of life, we didn't really see Dad very often when we were growing up, and it is also quite a difficult way of life. Not difficult, hard work, I guess. And I was also sick of worrying about the weather, something that you can never ever control.
Clearly.
Yeah. We worry about all the time. If it's raining, we want it to be sunny. If it's sunny, then we're really needing rain. We were doing rain dances last week for weeks and weeks and weeks.
I did try and say only 20 mil, but they didn't listen to me.
And now it's been torrential rain for days. So I kind of decided at that point that farming wasn't really for me, and I went away to university and went away travelling. And when I came back, Mum and Dad they are tenant farmers, and they just couldn't get ends to meet. We were working really hard for basically nothing left over at the end of it. So they decided that we were going to diversify, and we'd looked at all sorts of different things. They were going to sell stone troughs. We were going to make little bales that you put on fires. All sorts of different ideas.
We used to come in from school every night and they would have a different idea, a new plan.
Yes. So we eventually, it was Dad got fed up of us all talking about this, and he came back one day and said that he'd taken a cattle beast up to St Andrew's abattoir, and we were going to try and sell our produce direct to customers, which was a novel idea, I guess. We'd never really thought about that.
I said they were crazy. I said no one would come to us when they could go to a supermarket, but thankfully I was wrong.
Yeah, so 3 teenage girls all scoffed at the idea. Mum and Dad were fairly headstrong and decided that was what they were going to do, so we came back from uni and helped. We unfortunately kicked the men out of their workshop, and we scrubbed it, we cleaned it, we painted the floor.
And the walls.
And the walls, yep. We took Mum's kitchen table out into the workshop, and I always remember Mum and Dad having an argument
about the freezer.
Yeah, because they couldn't decide how to sell our beef, and so we decided we were going to sell it frozen because we didn't really have a market at that stage.
They decided if they could sell 1 cattle beast a year that they would be doing really, really well. Just now we're selling 1, if not 2, most weeks.
Yeah, so the first discussion was what kind of freezer, because we're farmers, we don't know anything about retailing, we didn't know anything about how the beef was going to come back. So Dad was adamant that it was going to be in a closed top freezer because it was more environmentally friendly and we'd be able to get more in it. Mum decided that it would be better if we had a glass top freezer so that the customers could see in it. So they've got 1 of each, and funnily enough it was the glass top freezer that won the...
Mum won.
Yeah, I know, which is a fairly frequent occurrence really, to be fair, in our childhood. So we started selling our beef, and we put leaflets through local people's doors, and amazingly people started coming. Our first day we sold £25 worth of meat, and that was it. We'd diversified. We had
Mum came in, she'd cracked it. That's all our problems were solved 25 quid later.
Yeah, I
she laughs about it now, but it was quite an achievement at the time. But all we had was the 1 freezer, and it only sold our beef. We didn't know anything else. Yeah, and a calculator.
So that's kind of how it started, and but it was 7 days a week. Well, it was 5 days a week at that point, and Mum was still trying to look after kids, and I'd come back from travelling, and she asked me if I wanted to help out, and I said, well, I'm going to go away to Teachers College training, so I'll help out for a couple of weeks and just get you on your feet until you find something else. And that was 16 years ago. So I'm still here.
We can't get rid of her.
Unlucky Mum, we're still here. But I just love, we're very passionate about what we do. I love talking to people, as you can probably tell. I love talking about what we do. Hopefully through all these videos you've realised that farmers just love showing everybody what we do. Unfortunately we spend a lot of time on our own, and bringing people onto the farm and selling direct the produce that we have is just so fulfilling. the men.
Dad really missed the connection. Before we started the farm shop, Dad grew quite a lot of broccoli and cauliflower for the supermarkets commercially, and he also had beef cattle that he sold to the market. And Dad was doing things differently on the farm and was trying really, really hard to make this kind of better, superior product. And at the end of the day, it went on a lorry and went away, and Dad had no idea whether what he'd done was good, bad or indifferent, apart from a cheque that came in the post. And he really missed that connection between everything. So the farm shop's really given us that, and a kind of push to do more of what we were doing. It's good to hear
people come back and say that they really enjoyed the steak instead of just getting a report from an abattoir is so much more fulfilling than the latter. But it also started us on this journey. So we started off looking at our breed of cattle, and that's a live video for another time. But we also went down a similar lane to the Clare's sheep, and we went on cattle that were meant to stay outside, that were meant to be reared on grass, that were easy calvers. And then Clare came home and, much to Dad's dismay, brought the sheep home as well.
Well, we have a wander while we chat, and we can go and see if we can find some more sheep. So yes. Oh yeah, here is some wool. So I don't know if you can see this in front of me here, but this is the wool, so it falls out in kind of clumps. So they do look a bit straggly at times, but it's much more natural for them. As the weather gets warmer, they lose the wool. As the weather gets colder, they can put it back on, and they're in charge of that.
It's more like hair, I think, is it not, Claire?
Yeah. It's not wool in the traditional sense anyway. And the birds absolutely love it. So Dad said it'll be a blooming mess. There'll be wool all around the field. And you can see little bits and bobs. If I turn the camera around, you can see little bits on the ground, but that will only last so long because the birds come along and they take it and they use it in their nests. So it doesn't look bad at all.
So as a farmer, Claire is really embarrassed by the grass in this field, but you'll see the difference that she's made to the other fields. Livestock has been getting a really tough press, I guess, recently, but hopefully you'll see what a difference having animals on ground is. They fertilise it, they churn it up slightly, they improve the microbes. They're really fundamental. Natural dung back into the ground and natural fertilisers. I also have to apologise. I think we're maybe bobbing up and down. Our selfie stick ran out of battery just as we pressed live. So
slight technical hitch, but we'll get there.
I know. We're still here though, and it stopped raining.
Someone just asked if we had to pick up the wool. We don't. The birds do that for us. They use it in their nests, so we don't need to do anything. Are the easy cares prone to get stuck on their backs? No, they're not actually. I think a lot of sheep's problem when they get stuck on their back is when the wool's heavy and they can't get up. Because the easy cares lose their wool quite early on, there's no bother. I've never had a single sheep stuck on its back.
What we forgot to say is please ask us questions, because we can talk to you for hours about this, but what we really enjoy is people asking questions. And no question is a stupid question. We really enjoy hearing what people think and what people like to know about the farm and what we're doing. So please do ask questions in the comments.
So I'll turn this around. So this is our group. This is the only ones I'm waiting to still lamb.
There's a really cool one at the side.
Yes, I don't know if you can see that, but she's still got a bit of a hairy bit on her back that the wool hasn't fallen off with. The other.
Oh, they're all funny.
These ones are a bit more sheared. But yeah, so we're still waiting on them to lamb. I still come up here every morning. Thankfully, because they're outside and because they're doing it themselves, I come up and check them in the morning and make sure there's no problems, and then I go in about tea time. And apart from that, I leave them to it. So yeah, Nikki just pointed out there's quite a lot of wool here. So
look at the fence.
So they do like a good scratch against the fence to get that wool off.
How long are sheep pregnant for?
So our tups go in just about New Year and they lambing about now. So we have 3 tups, which is quite a lot for the amount of sheep we have, but we try and get the lambing period just as close together as we can. So we've only got about 130 breeding ewes. Did you find your accountancy really helpful for the business side of the farm? Yes, it is very helpful, and my dad said that there was no way, after paying me through 4 years at university, that I wasn't doing the accounts for the farm. So yeah, I do all the accounts for the farm and look after all that side. Do the easy care sheep make good mothers. They're fantastic mums. Because they don't have a lot of intervention from us at any other point in the year, they don't really like us going near them at lambing time. So I try and keep this to a minimum. So basically they lamb outside. Sorry, Nicky's trying to open gates. They lamb outside. I catch them just to spray numbers on the side just in case there is any problems, but this is a practice that I am hoping to stop. You can see this one's 207 if you can read my handwriting. So I write the numbers on the side. That is a practice I'm hoping to stop because I think it's one more intervention that we don't need to have.
Somebody also asked the life expectancy of a ewe. How many years do they?
Well, my dad, when I first got sheep, always told me 5 years. Because I don't have a lot of experience in sheep apart from my sheep here, but there's some of these ones that are 7 years old and still going strong. So, because they're all pasture for life certified, so all our cattle and all our sheep are pasture for life certified. That means they just get grass. I think what causes some problem is the lack of teeth in ewes, especially if they're eating turnips and other hard foods. But because ours are just on grass and just on silage, I think their teeth are a bit better. Someone's asking if any of the lambs are kept for breeding. They are. Every year I'm trying to increase the numbers of sheep that we have on the farm. So I normally keep about 30 of the best lambs for breeding.
I'd also like to point out the grass in this field, Claire, is a lot better.
Yeah, so we've had this field for a couple of years now. So Jane is very much against using any form of chemicals, very against ploughing. She doesn't want to release any carbon. So we've had to kind of take a different approach to what we would normally do with a grass field. But it seems to have made a good difference this time, and the grass in here is coming back in hand. And Jane was so pleased with the grass in this field that that's why she wanted us to take the rest of her ground.
There's a sheep down in the corner there that's half lost its fleece.
Don't know if you can see that or if it's too far away, but yeah. So yeah, it's maybe not as interesting as many of the other tours where you get to see lambs up close and you get nice cuddles with them. Our sheep don't really do that. They are in a field and they don't really like us to come very close to them. So I do apologise that it's not overly exciting.
So basically what happened was we opened a farm shop and we started talking to the public, to customers, and we realised that everyone is really genuinely interested in what we do on the farm. And I suppose that's shown brilliantly through Go Rural and how amazing these tours have been, found so many people watching them. And it made us really rethink when people were asking questions how we farmed and why we farmed and what we do. And that's why we've made a lot of the changes that Claire's been telling you about. We changed the breed of cattle so they were outside. They graze on the dunes just along the coast at Ely. These easy care sheep, as Claire said, they stay outside all year round. They were specifically chosen because they are very good mothers and that they can lamb outside, so they really don't need us. We are here on hand to make sure that they are that they're being looked after and that nothing's happening to them, there's no deaths, and if they do happen to have a bad birth, then Claire and Scott check them all the time. But what we wanted to do was make it easier for the animals and for us really, and go back to basics. There's been a lot of things happen in agriculture, good and bad, and we wanted to take the good things from agriculture, the good things from modern agriculture, but also go back to why people did things in the past. Do you not have pet lambs, Claire?
Yes, we do. I've got 5 pet lambs. They are actually down at the house at Ardross. This is not up at this land here. So Nicky's sons are actually normally in charge of feeding the pet lambs. So yes, we do have some.
We couldn't actually work out what was happening this year because you found a lot of lambs were on their own or got lost, didn't you?
Yeah, the 5 that are. I think we had a fox in the field that was playing havoc because there was a couple of mornings I came up and the ewes and the lambs were separated, which doesn't normally happen. and I couldn't get them to go back together. So that's the majority of the pet lambs has been caused by that.
However, my boys love feeding them.
Lammy is the traditional name. I think they're all called Lammy. So what's the history of the Easy Care breed? It was a Welsh breed, and it was actually a Welsh farmer that basically decided that his farm was only really suitable for sheep, and that he couldn't make any money from sheep. So he needed to change what he was doing and how he was doing it to allow him to continue farming on his farm. So he really needed sheep that didn't need a lot of intervention, didn't need people there all the time, because he didn't have people there all the time. He needed them to lamb themselves. He needed them to be able to fatten on grass, because that's all he could afford to feed them. And he couldn't afford to shear them because he wasn't making any money for wool. So he developed a breed that did all of that for him. And I actually bought these sheep from his son-in-law. So that was how my flock kind of started.
There's a question here: how did you become pasture certified? This is something that we were doing a long time before we realised Pasture for Life was an organisation. Claire found out about it, and it's a wonderful organisation, and we are very, very proud to be. We were one of only 3 to start with ones in Scotland, but we are now one of many more in Scotland. So to be certified Pasture for Life, you have to feed 100% grass to your animals. So both our cattle and our sheep are Pasture for Life certified. So the beef, the lamb and the mutton that you buy in the shop is that. So we basically, on our journey to changing the breeds of the cattle, also meant that the breeds of the cattle were a lot more suited, and the sheep, are a lot more suited to just eating silage, which is fermented grass, and grass.
That's what these animals were traditionally meant to eat. That's why they've got, cows more than one stomach. That makes it much healthier for them. If you go into the Pasture for Life website, they will have all the stats on eating kind of grass-fed beef over grain-fed beef, and it really suits our system and how we do it. So yeah, we get audited once a year for Pasture for Life, just to make sure that we are doing everything that we say we're doing, and we get a certificate in to say that we can stick the stickers on all our produce to say that it is 100% Pasture for Life and these animals have had nothing but grass.
It's also amazing, there's lots of health benefits for the animals and for humans, and they're just really beginning to realise that, to be honest, it's more relevant in America and other countries. In Scotland we have the most amazing fields and landscape and plenty of rain to produce grass, so the majority of Scottish farmers do this already. But feeding your animals grain for even just one day actually changes the makeup of the meat that you eat. So the ratios of omegas are completely different, the calorie content's different. So if you're interested, I would definitely, there's so many different bits and pieces of it, I would definitely have a look into it. We're getting more and more people coming to visit our shop specifically because they want to buy Pasture for Life meat.
Yeah, I think Dad always said he had a eureka moment when he took me to an agricultural show, and he looked round and I asked him what something was, and he said, "Do you know what, all of these people are selling us products for problems that we've created. We need to go home, Claire, and work out why we're creating these problems and what we can do to fix them and really start things from scratch." So, for example, flies. Cattle get really bothered with flies, and we used to pour chemical down their backs to stop that. Dad worked out that flies hate garlic and cows love garlic, so we now put big tubs of garlic licks in the field, which seems really simple, but you need to actually go back to the basics and work out what we're doing.
We also had quite a high instance of pneumonia, which we used to blanket vaccinate for every year, and since our cattle have been staying outside all year round, we haven't had any instances of pneumonia. If they do have to come inside, we've got very, very well ventilated sheds. So it's always, we just went back to basics, and we're very lucky because we diversified and because we have an amazing market, that we were able to question quite a lot of these things. Now I just saw somebody said pasture fed is grass fed. That's exactly right.
Someone else asked us about reseeding grass. So we stitch in quite a lot of clover into grass pastures and reseed them all. To be honest, these fields were so bad and they were so thick with grass swards when we first took them over that I didn't think that stitching anything into them was going to work very well. So what we did was we tried to graze them down and then this season coming we will try and stitch something into them. So yeah, trying to improve pastures that way.
The horses that were on these fields were huge big stallions, and they were left there all the time, so there's huge big divots and things like that. So we're really trying to sort of flatten out naturally the grass.
Yeah.
And the sun's come out clearly.
It is, it's roasting now. We went from pouring rain to roasting. Anyway, have we got any other questions? Can we answer any questions for anyone?
Thank you for doing such great research. To be honest, you're very welcome, but to be honest, we love what we do, and we spend most of our waking moments either watching YouTube videos or reading about how to improve, how to regenerate. We've all got a responsibility to look after the countryside and the environment, whether you're a farmer or not, and farmers in general take great pride in looking after it. And with this regenerative agriculture and with climate change, we are all learning as well as everybody else, and there's amazing things happening in the agricultural areas. There's groups that Claire is part of that are really looking to revolutionise what we're doing and make it more sustainable.
So someone's asked if we strip graze our sheep. I don't strip graze my sheep, mainly because they're not particularly great with electric fencing. I do strip graze and paddock graze cattle, and it's something that we're doing more and more of with the cattle. Sheep, if I could train them slightly better, then it might be something that we look at to do with them.
If anyone knows anything about Easy Care sheep, they do like being on their own, and they are very good escape artists.
Yes, they are. Someone else have asked about fly strike. So no, I was trying to find some sheep. If we walk up this way, I can show you. So we don't dock tails on our sheep, so they all have long tails, which normally farmers don't like because of fly strike, but because these sheep lose their wool naturally, we don't tend to have any issues at all with fly strike. So again, I've only had sheep for 5 years, but in that time we have never had any problems with fly strike. So if I turn the camera around, I don't know if you can see, if I try and go up close, they've got big long tails, so if they run too fast they do helicopter across the field with their tails. So yeah, someone else asked about the cattle, how many cattle we've got. So we've got about 125 breeding cows and all their followers, so we've got about 300 cattle on the farm altogether, and they are stabilisers. So there we go. So
okay, we'll turn this round because that's our time up. So we just wanted to say a huge thank you very much to Go Rural for asking us to do this. We genuinely love talking about what we do, and we could probably talk for another half an hour about it.
We could bore everyone completely.
Yeah. So if you want to know any more, we've got our own Facebook page, we've got a new website going up very shortly, but we're in the East Neuk of Fife. It's the most beautiful area. We've got beaches, we've got pubs, we've got castles, we've got food, so please come and visit us. We are the last in a line of wonderful tours.
Yeah, I have loved watching all the different farms and getting us some ideas from a farmer's point of view. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, we've been learning a lot from other farmers. There's a lot to do with working together, and Scottish Agritourism is a wonderful network of farmers, and I'm always learning something. Well, we've got a lot to learn.
Yeah, every day's a school day on this farm.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us for all of the tours. That's them finished for just now. There are more tours coming up later in the year. I think there's goats actually, which is really exciting. We don't have any goats on the farm yet. So
we're not getting any goats on the farm.
I do want pigs though. Pigs would be good.
No, none of those either.
So yes, so we'll say goodbye for now, but thank you so much for joining us, and we'll hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much.
You.
Bye.
Bye.